4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Dan Salem. I'm live on a chilly Tuesday on BuzzChomp YouTube channel, here to talk with you about the NFL Week 11, and the climax of the season is upon us. Alright, cheers to that. But first, I'll bring up my handy dandy schedule and go live on Facebook in 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm Dan Salem. I am live talking to you about the NFL on this chilly Tuesday. So I'm in my robe. Yes, it's comfortable as hell. I'm live on YouTube, BuzzChomp YouTube channel, over on Facebook at The Dan Salem. It's the climax of the NFL season as we enter week 11. This is just do or die time, folks. It's do or die. We will take a look at the schedule. Where is it? There it is. And talk about whose teams are in must-wins, who can actually keep this momentum going, who are the big surprises of the year. Oops, sorry, I'm going to knock that over. And finally, who's in do or die mode, because after this week, several teams will be unofficially eliminated. Cheers to the NFL climax. All right. First things first, or if this is second or third, what have you, tweeting it out at the Dan Salem on Twitter. Gonna go hit the retweet button on BuzzChomp's Twitter with an extra Z in the word buzz. And so you can go at the Dan Salem and share the tweet, or you can go onto the at the Dan Salem Facebook page and share the feed, or over onto the BuzzChomp YouTube channel and share it that way. Okay, so the NFL. We've played 10 weeks. So that means most teams have, everybody's played 9, some teams have played 10 games. There are some teams that are truly in control, and there are some real surprises. So of the teams in control, who are we surprised by? We're not surprised by the Patriots. We're not surprised by the Steelers, even though it's been rocky going for them. Are we really surprised that Tennessee and Jacksonville are doing as well as they are? Maybe. Kansas City, we're not surprised. Well, personally, I thought that they would have a step back this year. They still could. They're only 6-3, but they were good last year, so it's not a real surprise. Eagles are a surprise. The Vikings dominating are a little surprising. The Saints and Panthers both dominating are a little surprising. The Rams, a bit surprising. Seahawks, not so much. I didn't mention anybody else that's closer to 500 at 5-4 or 4-5 or what have you. We'll talk about the surprisingly bad teams in a minute. But this is the climax of the season, which means we're heading towards the playoffs. The AFC, there's like 6 teams that have a better record than everyone else. In the NFC, there are 9. That means that some losses this week can decide playoff spots. This is like the peak of the year. You may have been really good up until now, but if you can't win over the last month and a half, your season's going to be a failure. Therefore, we'll work backwards. Can the Rams keep this going? The fact of the matter is, they get to play, I believe, both Arizona and San Francisco again. Their division is weak, and I do believe they will keep it going. The Vikings and Saints will be tough games for them. They also have to play the Eagles, so that could be 3 losses. I don't know. But they get the 49ers and the Cardinals again, and they get to try to get redemption against the Seahawks. I think the Rams can keep this going. I think they'll beat the Titans as well. The Eagles, Saints, and Vikings games will be difficult. This is a great game that they have in Week 11 against the Vikings. If they lose, it's telling. Both teams are up at the top, though, so one of them is going to have to lose, and it's not like the end of the world for either one when and if they do. But the Rams need it more because they got the Seahawks knocking on their door. Can Seattle keep it going? I don't think so. See, the fact of the matter is Seattle is really played to its opponents this year. What I mean is when they play in a good team, they play well. When they play in a bad team, they play kind of bad. Like, they lost to the Redskins by 3. The Redskins are an average team. So they have to play the Falcons. Now, I have a feeling they'll play up to the Falcons, but I think Atlanta beats Seattle. Atlanta's been rocky, but they looked good against Dallas. I think that they carry that momentum in. They're at home. They were going to win. that this week or the week after? Or maybe that's 2 weeks that they have a bye. Apologies. But the 49ers, that's a trap game for the Seahawks, especially if they can steal the Falcons game. Then they have the Eagles and the Jaguars and the Rams and the Cowboys. Consecutive weeks, they can't survive that gauntlet. I think Seattle, it's the climax of their year. I think that the Falcons game will make or break them. I realize that's, the 20th is this Sunday. I realize that they can rebound still, but they may have an easy game against San Francisco after this, but the next 4 after that are too much for them. They need this win, and I think Atlanta gets it. I think the Seahawks, also with the injury to Richard Sherman, I don't think that their season goes the way that their fans want it to. This is the Rams division this year. Can New Orleans, who's like the big upstart, and Carolina, who's had a resurgence year after one down year, keep it going? I don't think that we can count out the Falcons just yet. But damn if the Saints aren't on a hot streak. They get the Redskins, and they need to keep if they beat the Redskins, they're in the playoffs. If they lose to Washington, I'm going to seriously question how the rest of their season is going to play out, because they have to play the Rams and the Panthers and the Falcons twice. Now, a game against the Jets, I mean, they're home, so they should beat the Jets. The Jets aren't on their level this season. And the Buccaneers also not on their level. But Falcons twice is going to really be hard for New Orleans. Panthers again, and the Rams and Redskins. This is a tough road going, so their defense has got to keep it up. They beat Washington, I think they'll do it. But I don't know if they can beat the Rams and the Panthers in consecutive weeks. And they rack up too many losses, they're going to be out, because this is a competitive league. All right, their fellow brethren, the Panthers. Now, the Panthers going to the New York Jets this weekend is a classic trap game for Carolina. The Jets had a great game against Buffalo, but then proved that they're human and not a playoff team this season with a average performance versus the Buccaneers. Carolina's riding high. They just smoked the Dolphins, who stink. And they beat the Falcons before that and the Bucs before that. So they're on a 3-game winning streak, but they've lost 17-3 to the Chicago Bears, who are not very good. They're average. So this is a trap game for Carolina, because if they come in riding their high horse, sorry, this is 2 weeks because the Jets are on a bye this week. But the Panthers are also on a bye. So their next game is a trap game. Because they got New Orleans, Minnesota after that. 2 of their toughest games the rest of the way. Carolina, minus Kelvin Benjamin. I don't know. They probably beat the Jets, even though it's a trap. But I think New Orleans bests them, and the Vikings best them. And then they have to finish with the Falcons. I know the Packers and the Buccaneers should be victories. I don't know. I don't trust Carolina. I think that they're on the outside by the end of the year. All right. So what other surprises? So the Vikings, my hair's tickling me. I believe that Minnesota will win this division. I don't think that the Lions have enough, and Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers is just Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. So I like the Vikings, and I also think the Eagles keep it going. I don't know, Dallas Cowboys minus Ezekiel Elliott, completely different team. I think that the Cowboys will miss the playoffs. This is the Eagles division. So we're at the climax of the season. Who are the wild card teams, you ask? If the Seahawks and the Panthers both fall off, and you're not sure about the Lions, I think that the Falcons get a wild card berth. And who else do we have here? I guess it will be between the Cowboys and the Lions and the Panthers. I said the Cowboys would miss the playoffs, so that means maybe the Lions have to really kick it up a notch. Maybe the Panthers do get a wild card berth. I just think that they fall off from their stellar pace thus far. The AFC is a little bit more shut and dry. I mean, the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West. I don't think Oakland can catch them, and the Broncos and Chargers certainly aren't. But they're not like dominant. The AFC South between Tennessee and Jacksonville. So, I mean, Houston's out of it because they lost their quarterback. But let's see what the Jacksonville Jaguars schedule. Before the year, I would have said, Jacksonville, it's going to be like a rip your heart out story, and Tennessee is going to be the better story and win the division. They're pretty much tied. Tennessee gets the Browns this week, so that should be another victory in their playbook. But you know what? That's a trap game. It's a true trap game for the... Oh, sorry, Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, I clicked on the wrong tab. This is a trap game for Jacksonville because the Browns are bad. They're really bad. And they have to beat them. Then they get the Cardinals and the Colts, two other pretty bad teams. Jacksonville should win 3 in a row and be 9-3 before they have to face the Seahawks. And then they get the Texans, 49ers, and Titans. They basically have 2 hard games left this year. Jacksonville's in the playoffs. They win this division. Now, on the flip side, the Titans, they, the schedule's not that much more difficult, except they have to play Pittsburgh, and they have to play the L.A. Rams, and then the Jaguars. So they basically have 2 hard games as compared to Jacksonville's 1, which is why I think that the Titans are on the short end of the stick here. They get Colts, Texans, Cardinals, 49ers, 4 straight weeks. That could be 4 wins. I don't trust Tennessee because I love Jacksonville's defense, and that's why I trust the Jaguars. Pittsburgh is in full control of the AFC North. I really want the Ravens to pull this through, but I don't see it happening. And same with the Patriots. Buffalo's a nice story. I don't know. I could see the Bills stealing a wild card spot. And then I guess it's the Titans, Raiders, or Ravens. This is like a mishmash of crap. The last AFC wildcard spot might go to an 8-18 this year, which means my New York Jets are still technically in play. But if we look at their schedule, it does them no favors like Jacksonville's or Tennessee's. They have to beat the Panthers and the Chiefs. And then the Broncos are crappy, but then they have to beat the Saints. And the Chargers are crappy, but they have to beat the Patriots. They have legitimately 3 out of 6 hard games left. And they can't afford to lose 3 more times. They won't make the playoffs with that. They could lose 2 more times, so they'd have to upset one of those teams. And it would have to start really with Carolina coming off the bye week. And they're at home, and that's a trap game for the Panthers, like I mentioned. So I can see the Jets doing it, but I don't think they're making the playoffs. So there you have it. This is the climax of the year. It's do or die. So what are the games this week? Who's facing elimination, so to speak? Because we talked about the teams that are like winning and leading the way, correct? Girls. But there are a lot of teams at 4-5, 5-4, 4-6 that are truly on the cusp. And if they don't win this week, then I think there are too many losses behind. 6 losses feels like too many at this point in the season, which is why the Jets pretty much on the outside looking in. Miami at 4-5, Buffalo at 5-4. These are cusp teams that, you know, they both kind of not. I mean, Miami stinks, in my opinion. Buffalo's looked crappy the last 2 weeks, so you kind of count them out, right? Not so fast, because this isn't a long NFL season. So Seattle must beat Arizona on Thursday, and I don't see any reason why they won't, except that they're in Arizona. It's a short week that really favors the home team on Thursday Night Football. And if Seattle's riding its high horse, they may overlook the Cardinals. Oh, I'm sorry. This was last week. That was a close game, but Seattle won. Week 11. Tennessee at Pittsburgh, Thursday Night Football. Oh, okay. That's more like it. So the Steelers don't need this game, but the Steelers are home on a short week. Short week, a home team gets favored in Thursday Night Football. The Pittsburgh's better. It's about time that their offense kind of had an explosion, don't you think? Antonio Brown's had a slow season. I should know, he's on my fantasy team. But this is do or die for the Titans. If they lose, they're back down at 6-4 and kind of fall into the pack. Winning sets them up at 7-3, on par with the Steelers, who would be 7-3 with the loss. So this is a must-win game for the Titans. I mean, I know, like I said, they have multiple. They only have a couple of hard games left, and this is one of them. No one expects them to win, but it's a short week. It really favors the Steelers. I don't think that the Titans can do it, but this is do or die because 6-4 really sets them back, in my opinion. Same with Detroit at Chicago. If the Lions can't beat the Bears, they're done. That puts them at 5-5, and honestly, they're not serious. I mean, I don't think in the NFC 9-7 will get you the final playoff spot. It might, but I don't even think that Detroit gets there if they can't beat the Bears, because the Bears aren't great. Jacksonville at Cleveland. This is a trap game for the Jacksonville Jaguars because they're on the road against the winless Browns. Now, none of their opponents are technically hard, so they shouldn't be overlooking anybody. But if they were going to overlook anyone, it would be the Browns with Thanksgiving next week. Jacksonville needs to win this game, but like I said, their schedule is very favorable. So if they by chance lost, it wouldn't crush them. But they better beat the Browns. Baltimore at Green Bay. Baltimore. I got to say, this is a must-win for both teams. I don't really consider either one of them playoff contenders. One of them may sneak in. But they're both I think they're both 4-5 right now. So if they can get the victory, they're at 5-5 and they're not out of it technically, even though they might feel like it. But they'll have the positive momentum. 4-6 is pretty much too big a hole already at this point. That's why I say RIP my Jets. So that's must win for both teams. Tampa and Miami. You know, I'd love to see Tampa stick it to the Dolphins because I feel like they're about the same par level teams. But Miami's at home, and this is must win because if they really want to save their season and sneak into the playoffs with that lowly final AFC spot, which is going to a bad team, this is the week they have to do it. They have to win at home after losing to the better Panthers team humiliatingly on Monday Night Football. They've had some pretty humiliating losses. They need this victory over the lowly Buccaneers, who looked good against the Jets, but the Jets were flat. Bucs were home. The Bucs needed to win more. Miami needs to win this more. This is really must win for the Dolphins. Okay down there? Okay, so LA Rams, Minnesota. This is one of the games of the week. Two excellent teams. Both 7 victories apiece. So this is just like potential playoff matchup. Great game. Neither team will be super injured by a loss. One of them is going to lose. I think the Rams their offense can withstand the Vikings defense because I don't really like Minnesota's offense that much. It's good, but yes, it was great last week. But it just feels inconsistent is the way I'm looking at it. Washington and New Orleans. This is the do or die for the Redskins because if they don't win, that's pretty much it. They'll be at 4-6. Like I said, 6 losses kind of sets you too far back at this point in the year. I mean, anything can happen, but they need to beat the Saints. And the Saints, I mean, they're 6-3. They could withstand the loss, but at home they should beat this Redskins team the way they've been playing. Then you've got the Chiefs versus the Giants. I don't know if that can be a trap game against the Giants because the Giants have been playing so poorly. They're at home. The Chiefs need this to continually dominate the AFC West because if they lose, they're at 6-4. And then they got the Raiders that, if they win, are 5-5 knocking on their door. And even the 4-6 is knocking on the door. But winning at 7-3 separates the Chiefs. And you can't lose to the Giants. They're one of the 3 worst teams in the NFL. This is a must win because you don't want to fall for the trap if you can get trapped by the Giants. Arizona, Houston. I mean, I think Houston's out of it at 3-6, whatever they are. Arizona's technically not out of it because they got 4 victories. But another loss dooms them. So this is must win for the Cardinals, who are hoping that they can sneak into the playoffs at 9-7 and leapfrog the Seahawks or something. But the NFC is more competitive. I don't see them catching the Rams. But they need to win this game, otherwise their season is kind of done. Moving along to Buffalo at LA Chargers. A loss for Buffalo was at 5-5. They'd still be in the pack, but that'd be 3 in a row losses for the Bills. Please plug me back in. I got unplugged. Tick-tock. That'd be 3 losses in a row for the Bills, and that's tough to withstand. I mean, maybe 5-5, and I mean, they wouldn't be the same team that was winning games. They'd be the bad team that lost to the Jets. So they need to prove that they're not that bad team. But like I said, the Chargers, with a win, are 4-6. And technically not out because the AFC's not great at the bottom and in the middle. I'd like to see the Chargers win this one. But if Buffalo really wants to make the playoffs, this is a must-win for the Bills. Hey, Maddie. It's really a must-win game. Just another minute, then I'll wrap up, okay? Which leaves us with Cincinnati, Denver. These are two bad teams. Nobody really cares who wins. It doesn't matter. New England and Oakland. This is must-win for the Raiders. Because, again, a loss will put them at 4-6, and that's no good for anybody trying to make the playoffs. New England's in control, but they should beat Oakland. Philadelphia, Dallas. It's must-win for the Cowboys at home. The Eagles can handle a loss, but the Dallas Cowboys at 5-4 need it, or they're really going to be setting themselves back to 500. Nobody wants to see that heading into Thanksgiving. Finally, Atlanta at Seattle. This is a must-win for both of these teams, 5-4, 6-3 respectively. They both need it if they want to get that final playoff spot in the NFC, or even win their divisions, but that seems a step behind for both of these teams right now. Okay, it's the climax of the NFL year, Week 11, the final week of games prior to Thanksgiving, where we get football on Thursday, lots of it, and then all weekend long too. Oh yeah, it's the climax. So many teams in do or die mode. I'm Dan Salem. I am live 5 p.m. Pacific every single Tuesday evening. I'm here to talk the NFL with you guys over on the BuzzChomp YouTube channel and The Dan Salem on Facebook mentions, Facebook Live, my Facebook verified account. All right, thank you, and have an amazing evening. I will be back to talk the NFL next week on Tuesday. Peace.